Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
Up, everybody. Rusty Buckets here on this Tuesday. We got a jam-packed show for you today. I'm flustered. I don't even know where to start because, right before, it's the first time we've ever had such breaking news within 15 minutes of showtime. So, still gathering my thoughts, figuring out what's going on over here. Thankfully, I have my colleague, Uncle Buck, here with me on the show today. What's up, Drew? How are you, buddy?
What's going on? Listen, I love breaking news before the show because typically we get news broken after the show. And so I'm glad we got news broken the show. It is going to kind of change the angle a little bit because I had some Jimmy Butler thoughts. And so I still have some thoughts. They're just maybe slightly different, but we're going to get into all of it in a jam-packed episode of the Two Buck Sports Show.
Yes, sir.
It feels like it's been a while. So, Rusty, we need to catch up.
Yeah.
We're going to start this show off the way we start off every Two Buck Sports Show as two best friends just catching up for about 5 minutes. We call this segment Best and Beef of the Week. Rusty, I set them up. You knock them down. What is the best thing that happened to you this weekend?
I'm going to be brief with it because we got a lot to get to, and I've got to get out of here and get to work this afternoon. So, for me, I'm probably one of the only people who's going to say this. I love cold weather in the snow, and it has been flurrying all week this week in Memphis. Yesterday, this morning, it's bitter cold. I've got the quarter zip, best weather, the puffer jacket. I love the cold and snow, and I'm here for it. So for me, it's just cold, snowy weather.
Yeah, I haven't gotten sick of it yet. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I'm not a cold weather guy, really. I don't mind it as much. One of the perks of work is that they do provide me plenty of outerwear. And so I wear pretty much work issued fleeces and they're always warm and they're very stackable. So I haven't gotten sick of it yet, but I can feel it coming, especially if we get the forecast. If the weatherman is right and we get 4 to 6 inches of snow this weekend, I will be sick of it. So T's and P's for your boy. If we get snow, just pray it don't stick to the power lines. You may not see me for a little while. My best of the week. I took off Friday. It was my wife's last day of Christmas break. She had to go to work yesterday, but the kids' first day was today. So I took off half a day on Friday, and I took the kids up to Urban Air. Memphis folks, I know that you're familiar with it. We went to the one in Collierville right outside of the Carriage Creek. Is that what?
Yeah, Carriage Crossing.
Carriage Crossing mall. And we just let the kids bounce until they wore themselves out. Rusty even stopped by for a few minutes and had lunch with us in the cafeteria. I would eat elsewhere. I don't want to talk bad. I don't want to besmirch the place at all. You don't go for the chicken strips, okay? So just go and eat somewhere else, okay?
I said go bounce, but eat somewhere else.
Yeah. And so it was fun. That was the best thing that happened, and it happened on a Friday, which is okay because if you're not working, it's a Friday, it's the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And so my beef, life's going pretty good. I don't really have a lot to beef about. Work is a bit chaotic right now. It has been chaos this morning. It's not getting any better. I like routine and a plan, and I had my day planned out, and now it's completely washed and gone away. And I'm trying not to totally stem out because that usually sets me off in a bad direction. So I don't like my routine being usurped, but it has been usurped today. So 2025 has been chaotic at work for me so far.
Well, this is the start of the new year. I mean, if everybody just being honest with each other, no one started their resolutions or they're working hard in the middle of a week. The fact that the first is on a Wednesday meant that the first is actually today. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no way anybody was starting to diet or exercise, drinking more water on a Wednesday. It just wasn't happening.
Yeah, just call me Jimmy Butler, as DG said here in the comments, because I'm not showing up.
Let's see. What's my beef of the week? I don't have one. Let's just move on. I'm pretty happy. We did have to dog sit. I guess that's the biggest beef I have. Dog sit for my mom over the weekend, or my daughter did. And Dog wasn't that big of a deal. So, pass. Celebratory pass for beef of the week.
So we got a lot to get to. We got a lot of Grizzly topics to talk about. We're going to talk about the Dallas game, but I think we'll move that to the back end of the show because we both have thoughts about the Grizzlies that we want to share, but we got to address the elephants in the room. It came out over the last few days. The Memphis Grizzlies went from a plus 3,000 to sign Jimmy Butler, to this morning. It'd be really weird if we signed the Parrot, but dropped all the way to a plus 180 this morning, meaning it was basically even money that he was coming to Memphis, only for his camp to come out today and say that Jimmy has no interest in going to Memphis. He wants to go somewhere where he can get a long-term deal and get paid. Winning is obviously not what he's looking for. Feels like he's positioning himself to go to Phoenix. We'll get to that here in a minute. Golden State. All the Memphis Grizzlies did was say, okay, screw it. Bring Gigi back. And it was announced that Gigi is practicing with the Memphis Hustle today and will immediately come back to the Grizzlies. And in my medical professional opinion, if it goes well today, I really think there's a good chance we at least get a doubtful, if not a questionable, for Thursday's game against Houston. So I set him up. Uncle Buck, give me like your first initial thoughts about the Jimmy Butler news today.
Yeah, so listen, the Jimmy Butler news today was totally reactionary, and it feels like Miami, or in particular Jimmy Butler's camp, started to believe that a Memphis trade might happen because there's no way that it's probably like, oh, Vegas odds, whatever, I'll keep tabs on it. But it seems like maybe today could have been the day that a trade was going to happen. And Jimmy Butler just decided like, no, that ain't for me. And superstars do this a lot. And sure, as a Memphis fan, your pride is just like, why not us? Screw you. It's kind of what Grizzlies fans do the best is take that chip, the small market chip, and play it and hold on to it for dear life. And so, for a lot of people, Jimmy Butler is unwelcome in this city, and he will be booed when he comes back to FedEx Forum
100%.
Whenever he gets traded.
Whether that's with Miami or Phoenix or whatever. Because, you're right. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I didn't want him. I mean, I've been on several shows, this one, Daily Grind, saying that I'm not a huge fan of trading for Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler is a great on-court product and instantly made us a finals contender this year. But I didn't like the long-term projections because he's going to be expensive. He is a volatile flight risk. I mean, he could have the wrong pregame meal and sit out for a week because he doesn't like how it's going. I could very easily see him button heads with TJ or Ja or Edie or somebody, anything to get his panties in a wad, and then he would quit on your team.
For me, I was okay with taking a stab at it just to turn the clock back, 2 hours ago. I was okay with a rental of Jimmy Butler as long as the price tag did not exceed Brandon Clark.
Sure.
I said that to you, and I think I said that to Luke in our group chat. And my thinking is that he has a player option for next year. If he doesn't want to stick around, then he could be the consolidation piece you need, to get rid of some of the excess, to trim the fat, clean up the rotations, whatever you want to call it. And then you get Jimmy Butler for a year, and if it works, great.
Yeah.
And he's not going to just re-sign. He's probably going to decline in the offseason one way or the other so that he can have a longer-term deal. And so I wasn't really necessarily scared that Jimmy Butler was going to opt into $50 million. That would not have been the best case scenario, and that would be a con, in my opinion. But if you could restructure it and get something, if it worked, then great. And the worst thing that could happen is you consolidate and you make a run at it, because right now I'm kind of out on the Grizzlies as Western Conference Finals contenders.
Yeah, we'll get to that more here in a few minutes, but I agree. Jimmy Butler made us immediately better, but he's a 35-year-old rental that was going to be expensive if he stayed, and there's always that risk of losing the locker room because he's not a great cultured guy. And so his camp coming out saying that he is looking to be extended, and there's a lot of rumblings coming out of Phoenix. Phoenix feels like they're doing everything they can to get him. Miami has come out and said they have no interest in Bradley Beal's ridiculous deal. And so that's going to take another team. So like we talked about on the Daily Grind this morning, this is very likely a three-team trade. Somebody is going to have to absorb Bradley Beal in order for him to go to Phoenix. It's very obvious. I think as Wayno said earlier too, if you want to win now, it's not in Phoenix. Like, that is a dysfunctional franchise. It's ugly, but they apparently can pay or are willing to pay for Jimmy Butler an extension if they can move off of Bradley Beal.
You know, like the girls that they always go for the same kind of guy. You know what I'm talking about? Like the guy, Phoenix has got a type. You know, they want old, decrepit, almost former superstar players. Like that's what Phoenix wants. And listen, I will not discount Jimmy Butler's ability to play basketball.
No, not at all.
Not discount Kevin Durant's ability to play basketball or Devin Booker. And that's all of them. I will not say that about Bradley Beal. But, you know, that would make it a little scary for me because I do believe that Jimmy has the ability to turn it up. And I put it on the screen a minute ago. Daniel in the comments. If you're not in the comments, get to YouTube, get in the comments. Another player coming west is not good news. And Phoenix, despite the fact that we always beat them and they're not very scary and they're very lackluster in the regular season, I don't want them to just stockpile players that I like, that I think are good players.
Yeah, agreed. Especially when that's another team that we'll have to contend with in the playoffs. And as constructed, I'm not sure that that's going to be advantageous for us. But the reports are Jimmy doesn't want to come here. I think it was mentioned. We were mentioned specifically because we were the odds-on favorite,
right?
Which is a bummer. Like it is. But I'll say this: it's a bad take to say that our front office isn't at least trying, because there was clearly where there's smoke, there's fire. And Chris Harrington has put out some tweets about, don't believe all the rumors, blah, 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 which is fair. But it was like something was happening. We are clearly kicking the tires of DFS, Cam Johnson, Jimmy Butler. The front office sees what we see, that there is clearly a missing piece that we need to get over the hump. Maybe it was Jimmy Butler. Maybe it's still Cam Johnson. I know that things went sour with Brooklyn, but I've said multiple times, like, Cam Johnson to me is a better fit with us for what we're trying to do, because our championship window is opening now. Right. And if you can add Cam Johnson to the mix on a very team-friendly deal and then re-sign him in the future, you've got an opportunity to have a longer, wider open championship window, because he is just continuing to get better and is a good young prospect.
Yeah, my thing with Cam Johnson has always been that he fits us better. He fits the timeline better. He's younger. He's got more years on his contract, and it's a team-friendly contract. And he shoots the three extremely well, and he's a big, long dude. Like, he's going to fit anywhere, and I want it to fit in Memphis. However, after that DFS trade, when it was apparent to me that Brooklyn leaked the trade details that were being talked about and bantered about between the Nets and the Grizzlies, in order to have our deal usurped, as Michael Scott once said.
Usurped.
I don't know that you can really go and play ball with them anymore, because what it left was Giddey and Luke Kennard having meetings with Zach Kleiman and saying, bro, like, really? We're on the market. Now, we're adults here, and we know the ropes. It's in our first rodeo, but, like, it couldn't lead to stability, and
that's fine. I don't care about your feelings. It's a business. It is what it is. I agree. Like, it's going to be an awkward conversation, but it's a conversation that you have, because yesterday there were rumors coming out that the Grizzlies are still holding on to Marcus Smart, hoping to get a deal for Cam Johnson. Like, that's been said within the last 48 hours. So I don't know, like, it's on life support for sure, but it ain't dead. The Cam Johnson deal ain't dead. There's still an opportunity there for us to have that conversation and get a third team involved that maybe, we can work something out with another team to take on some of those contracts. But what I think will happen, even if Luke goes there, he's going to get bought out and go to a contender. I don't know that they want that kind of player there, but something in my gut tells me that there's still going to be some rumblings around Cam Johnson to come.
To me, it seems very apparent at this point that if the Grizzlies want Cam Johnson, they're going to have to be the top bidder. Like, we all know what the score is. We all know that he's on the market, and we all know the asset that he is. And we've known that the Grizzlies have been in this talk for a long time now. And so it's not going to be about relationships. It's not going to be – they're just going to have to conjure up the best offer. And they've shown in the past they were willing to go 4 first-round draft picks for Mikal Bridges. Are you willing to do that for Cam Johnson?
And I think that answer could be yes, because we have stockpile. We need to consolidate wings. We need to consolidate. We could consolidate some picks and not have to worry about it. because we have such a young core. I'm not saying we don't need to draft at all, but we do hit better in the second round anyway. Maybe we consolidate some of our wings and our picks in the same move and get a Cam Johnson. Would be phenomenal. Be a great fit for this team. Yeah. He fits the timeline. He fits the offense. It works really well. A guy that size that can shoot is wonderful, especially considering Oklahoma City is one of the teams that has shown the most interest in him. And that's worst case scenario. Like, I'm not saying we need to go get Cam Johnson just so that Oklahoma City doesn't get him, but I'm also saying that we need to go get Cam Johnson just so Oklahoma City doesn't get him. Because, my God, they look like the best team in the world. And then you have Cam Johnson. I was going to bring that up
because I was watching the Oklahoma City-Boston game on Sunday afternoon, and it was either that game or the Christmas Day game, one of the two, where they put up the graphic that showed that Oklahoma City, I believe it was 11 first-round draft picks over the next 5 drafts. And that's just an outrageous. And I just said that the Grizzlies are going to have the best offer. If they want first-round draft picks and Oklahoma City covets them, then that's just going to be what it is. And we're just going to have to accept it. Sam Presti has done an amazing job at putting that team together with assets. I don't think I could live in a world where I've spent so much time and energy talking about Cam Johnson only for him to go to Oklahoma City.
Oh, my God. Because they're already a juggernaut. What they did to Boston, what they've done to the Knicks, the way they're running through teams, like that team is scary good.
This 14-game win streak is such buffoonery. They lost a game in the middle. I'm sorry that we're not counting the Cup Finals game because it's an extra game that no one else plays.
Yeah.
But we got to at least say that this is not a streak. It's not a streak. There is a loss in the middle of a 14-game winning streak, and everybody just like, didn't count. Well, Milwaukee's got a trophy, dang it. Like,
and paychecks.
It doesn't count.
Exactly. I agree. Couldn't agree more. It's silliness. And I think when we're full strength, it's going to be a different story for Oklahoma City, which kind of is a great transition. Shout out to Wayno here. If we miss out on these players in trade talks, we're still in a very good position as a franchise because G.G. Jackson Jr. is returning to basketball activities today. There's been pictures. We know he's been practicing and shooting. It's very clear he's been involved in some team activities. This might be his first run as full 5-on-5, or maybe trying to get a little extra scrimmage in before. My gut is telling me like all the signs are pointing towards a different injury designation for Thursday. I just if not Thursday, for sure when we play again Saturday. Is that when we're at?
I'll look it up. I think that's
one of the next 2 games. It always feels like we try to get these guys back at home crowd, play in front of your fans, and it feels like that's what they're trying to do with GG. And I'm just telling you, like, GG coming back is going to be a great piece for this offense. I think that we'll see kind of how that goes. And then I think that's when the trade talks will start heating up. Because what if, and again, I want to put a caveat. I said this on Twitter, be careful because GG's minutes restriction is going to be pretty heavy. I'm going to do a Bucks 2 cents about this later today, so be looking out for that. But the 5th metatarsal head is very fragile. There's not a great blood supply, so the risk of re-injury is very high. So he's going to be on a pretty heavy minutes restriction. But if what we see in that minute restriction is fantastic, I think there could be a shift towards, maybe we do go get Cam Johnson, a guy that can play alongside Jaren and have a lineup of Ja, Dez, GG, Cam, and Jaren. That's a lineup that could really happen and could put up just a literal crap ton of points. And so I think we need to be cautious with the early returns on GG because of the minutes restrictions, but it could be something really freaking great.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I was actually going to ask you about on the show regarding the rehab process for GG Jackson, because typically I think broken bones, you rehab to get in shape. It's not as much to protect a re-injury as much as it would be like a muscle strain where it can re-pull, but with that, so you're saying that even though this is a bone break, it's more than just getting in game shape. He actually probably needs to ease his way into as many reps as he's getting to keep from re-injuring the same bone.
Exactly, because this is a very common thing you see in repetitive runners, that repetitive trauma can cause stress fractures that just keep coming back. It helps that he had surgery to pin the bone. That's going to make it much more structurally sound, but there's still going to be that risk. And so basketball is a lot of running, a lot of repetitive foot trauma up and down the court. And so, yeah, it's going to take reps. It's going to take time. You can strengthen all the muscles around it, getting loose and limber as much as you can, get as much proprioception in that ankle for it to move well.
Exactly.
All the things. Exactly.
Proprioception.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't you slurp my point here. But like it still runs a risk. It's just going to take time because it's a bone that doesn't have a great blood supply. And in the body, no blood supply means likely increased injury. And so it's tough, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the first step that we've seen this year of Gigi having any sort of update other than this many weeks or reevaluated or whatever. So the fact that they're transitioning him to the hustle is kind of weird. And I'd be kind of curious to know what he's doing differently. Like, surely he's shooting around, he's doing stuff with the Grizzlies, but it seems like he's getting extra work in order to ramp up. They're getting him extra work.
That goes back to my previous point that it's been obvious he's been practicing in some capacity because Drew Hill and DeMichael Cole and different guys have been tweeting out pictures of him in practice, and he's in full practice gear, and he's been putting up shots before games, and he's been doing things in the shoot around. So like he's been doing some level of basketball activity. So this is either his, again, like what they did with Zach Edey, his ankle. This is either his first run at like 5-on-5, full court, game type basketball, or like you said, they're trying to get a few more reps to test him before Thursday. I would be shocked if he's not playing basketball by the beginning of next week if today goes
That's
well.
Pretty bold.
Also, be mindful. Remember, Zach Edey went down there and it didn't go well, and they slapped another 2 weeks on him.
That's true.
That's also an option. He could go down there and just not feel right, not have the push off. It hurt when he lands, like anything like that. They're going to shut him down for probably 3 to 4 more weeks. So, like, that's also a possibility. So it's great that he's going to go practice, but we all need to like hold our collective breaths to make sure it goes well today.
And that's the reason why, even though I'm not a medical professional, it's the reason why I'm leery when you say, oh, well, I expect a probable or questionable first part of next week. Because I just really want to see what happens. If
it goes well, you can expect that. If it doesn't go well, then we'll know pretty quick. It's going to be a little bit. DG brings up an excellent point here. Going back to our trade talk, the Jazz have 3 first-round picks this season with only 1 expiring contract on their books. Utah will be a great trade partner if we went and got John Collins and Colin Sexton, who I've been looking for. Colin Sexton.
Why do you keep wasting? Why use many word when few word do trick?
John Collins Sexton will be a great trade partner for me, and I don't care what you say about a $19 million backup point guard. Colin Sexton and John Moran can play on the floor together and would be a 2-headed monster in this offense. And John Collins is a guy that I've coveted for a long time, so I would love for Utah to be a great trade partner for us.
Him and his weird thumb. Yeah, have you ever seen the pictures of his? He's got a Vince Vaughn thumb. And so, so I mean that paints a pretty good firm coat on our thoughts on Gigi and our thoughts on Jimmy Butler and kind of what's going on off the court. On the court, the Grizzlies did play the Dallas Mavericks last night. They did stop a 2-game losing streak, and they ended a 5-game road stint here. Yeah. And the game itself was like the first quarter in which I wanted to jump off, take a long walk off of a short bridge. And
I was right there with you.
The second through fourth quarters in which I was like, okay, Dallas sucks. So, but it was nice to get one back in the left column here. Yeah. And play well, especially on defense. I thought what happened and what turned the momentum is that Dallas quit making shots and the defense was there. We were rebounding really well. We played good enough defense. Of course, they were out Luka and Kyrie, but we were out Desmond Bane and John Morant. So I'll take your injury excuses if you take mine. Yeah. Jaren Jackson Jr. was so good. In the first quarter, it felt like the 23-24 season. And then Jaren kind of took over and he was amazing.
Yeah, you're right. It started off ugly. We had I felt like 8 turnovers in the first 90 seconds. Like it just felt like every time down the floor we turned the ball over, they jumped out on us. We came out, got our early lead, and then we trailed until we took our first lead at 48-45 in the second quarter. And so like our first real lead and didn't look back from there. But like you said, Jaren was a big part of it. The biggest thing though is we started getting stops again. For 2 games, we couldn't get a single stop against the Warriors or the Kings. Anytime we needed a stop to matter, like get a stop to influence the game, we couldn't do it. Like we talked about the Warriors game, it felt like you were reaching behind the couch for something, and instead of grabbing it, every time you touched it, you pushed it a little further out of reach. You pushed it a little further out of reach. It's just a very annoying basketball game. And last night was the opposite. Once we found our footing in the second quarter, Jaren was an all-NBA player again last night. He continues to be a guy. He continues to be the best player on whatever court he's on, no matter who he shares it with. Like I said this morning. I was talking about this morning, like, of his 13 shots, 11 were unassisted. So he was creating an isolation and against a great defensive big in Derek Lively, who had nothing for him last night. Jaren was making it happen all across the floor. A couple big blocks, big steals. Jaren was in all NBA form last night for sure.
Yeah. I love Derek Lively. Oh man,
I do too, man. I told Maggie that last night. I really like that dude.
he caught Jay Huff when Jay Huff he jumped too close to the basket. And he got a face full of Derek Lively, and I was like, Jay Huff, you need just to go walk back. I don't say a word. Just hustle back. Jaren was amazing. He is such a dominant shot creator. He can get into the lane on anybody. You saw him do it against Draymond. You saw him do it against Gafford and Lively and PJ Washington yesterday. He just got to his shot, and it seems like when he gets into the line and when he comes from outside the 3-point line and creates his own path to the lane, finishing with either hand, it feels like he shoots like 85% on those shots. He was just an absolute bucket. And I've talked about on many of occasions about how important a stopper is, a run stopper. And this is a team that you're like, okay, Ja's that run stopper. Well, Ja, you can't count on him playing, apparently. And outside of Ja, you needed somebody to just be able to stop the bleeding. And Jaren he led the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, on points on isolation last year. And I swear, there's not a game that goes by that I don't think he can get 20 points on his own.
Yeah, on isolation plays. He's so good at creating an own shot. Two big things for me last night. Scottie Pippen Jr. had 1 turnover, and the team as a whole only had 13. It was one of our more clean basketball games after the first quarter.
I meant to bring that up when you said it earlier. On the broadcast, Pete said there were 6 first-quarter turnovers. They finished the last 3 quarters with only 7 in the last 3 quarters. So that's what you look at. That's
markedly
mightily with.
And then the other big thing was the young Jalen Wells, who is continuing to play like a rookie of the year. Got his first career double-double last night with 17 and 10. The shot wasn't working last night. Like, he was not great from the field. Shot 27%, 3 of 11, 1 of 5 from beyond the arc. But he was he had tied the Grizzlies record for most free throws made in a row, 10 out of 10, and finished with a productive night at 10 for 11 is what he finished at, with a productive night despite his shot not falling.
You could tell that the real app is what we used to follow along the games and stuff. You could tell it's a bot that sends you the notifications because it's like it's the standard format, and it's like, ooh, Jalen Wells double. It said 10 points, 10 assists, 20% shooting, and I was like, if that was a human, they wouldn't have put that in there.
Exactly.
We're going to grab the shooting percentage. That's the formula, and it was like 20% from the field, and I was like, You didn't have to do that.
But he was pesky on Klay Thompson last night. Held Klay Thompson to 31% from the field. Played great defense. Jalen Wells continues to be a steal at the 39th overall pick and give us an edge and some toughness that we've been missing this year because we don't have a great record against the Western Conference. We're struggling in games against good teams. And listen, I know the injury stuff. We've talked about it on this show today. We understand that that's going on. And there are some yellow trending towards orange type flags. I won't call red flags yet, but I do have concerns about this Grizzlies team ability to make a deep run in the playoff as constructed.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was ready. Now, last night did kind of back me up a step from the ledge, but I'd be lying to say, I mean, I've been talking all season about how you're not winning close games. I mean, I think 15 games in the season, I brought a stat in here, or 20 games. And here we are almost 40 games into the season, and we're still not winning close games. If we win by blowouts, or if it's close, we lose. And that's a real problem. When I say for the whole season, listen, the measuring stick is not regular season success anymore. The measuring stick is postseason success. And if I can't see this team grinding out wins, being able to course correct when things start going left, then I'm not going to feel confident when playoffs get here. I don't care if we're the 2 seed. We just talked about that Phoenix team. If you're saying that Phoenix team goes through the play-in, the Grizzlies finishes the 2, and you catch Phoenix as at 7, I'm not going to feel great going up against Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and maybe Jimmy Butler, despite our regular season success, because we have not shown to this point, almost halfway through the season, that we can grind out a win in a close game against bad teams. Much less against good teams. We're like, I think after last night, we're like 3-3 in the season against Western Conference teams over 500.
Agreed. And we're 13-3 against the Eastern Conference. Like, we play well in those games, but the problem is we have to go
Eastern Conference sucks.
We have to go through the Western Conference to get to an Eastern Conference team. So that's where my concerns are. Is you were talking earlier about needing a stopper, and Jaren has been that guy for us, but we need like Ja Morant. To me, like, I love Ja. Like, I'm not disparaging Ja by this at all, so don't come at me with your pitchforks and your.
Sounds like you're getting ready to disparage.
All I'm saying is he's getting close to like an injury-prone tag, because it just like Ja's like a player's best ability is availability, and we haven't had that from Ja Morant lately. I love the guy. Obviously, want him on my team. He is my point guard. Oh, captain, my captain, right? But I'm like, we can't count on him. So we need other guys. Jaren stepping up. Desmond coming back into his own. But I agree here. I think Vince and Gigi coming back are going to help with that. Gigi could be another bucket. Vince could be the guy that you put in and say, go turn, Clay or Luka or whoever, go turn their water off. Help us slow it down. Vince could be that guy that could stop a run on an offensive end. Gigi could be that extra bucket when you have the ball. And so we just need another dude that we can count on.
So if my numbers are correct, if Ja Morant misses the game tonight, he is ineligible for any postseason award.
There you go.
This will be his 18th game missed. If my quick tabulation, and I didn't look up games played, I counted them myself. So it could be off, but it's not off by much. Okay?
I didn't see you take your shoes off, so it might be off.
So I counted 17, which is the exact number of fingers and toes that I have. And so Ja Morant will be ineligible for any sort of postseason award. And listen, last year was one injury. This season is multiple. And it is discouraging. You look at this, and in the preseason, he took a ball off the foot to twist an ankle. And he's had Christian Coloco took him out of the air. And Daniel Tice leaned into him after he did not properly screen him.
And somehow they said it wasn't a foul. But anyway.
And so it's not his fault.
Exactly.
But you've got to be able to maintain your health through a season. You are going to – it is a contact sport. You've got to be able to survive the contact that you've got. And he is – you can say what you want. Ultimately, I love Jaren, but if you want to win anything, it's on the back of Ja Morant.
Yeah, I mean, Ja's our quarterback. He's the one that runs the offense, brings the ball up, sets the pace, sets the tone. Absolutely, 100%. But the offense still needs to flow through Jaren right now, the rest of the season, because of how he's playing. Like, absolutely. And yes, this is a good point. We're probably baby some of the injury returns, just trying to be overly cautious because we have been snake bit. Like, not just us as fans, the franchise, the players, the coaches, the front office, all probably have PTSD. Like, it's not just us feeling it. So yeah, they're probably a bit more cautious with these injury returns, hoping that it'll turn into more games played on the back half of the season. Like, that's a very valid point. But it's hard to put a ton of trust in guys who are consistently unavailable. When Ja is playing, he is our alpha. He's the one that drives this team. But he's just not been playing enough for that to be the case, which has been so refreshing to see Jaren step up into that role, and the maturation that he's gone under throughout his career is so impressive, from being that clunky, lumbering kid his first couple of years to being like that dude. He is him on the court.
Yeah, it seems like John's got his ego almost has a ramping up process as well. Like, he is such a good teammate, and he's always concerned about getting his guys, feeding the family. You know what I'm saying? That it almost takes him a minute to be able to be like, no, actually, it is mine. And if there's anything that you've seen that I've learned this year that I think I knew, but I don't think I knew just the amount of difference between the two. It's the gap between Jaren and Desmond, because this is a big three, but it is when the going gets tough. Like, if we need a bucket, especially a 2-point bucket, but a bucket, it's John Jaren's team, and Desmond's there as a safety valve, and it's the best safety valve you can come up with.
Yeah,
but Ja and Jaren has just done so much for me at this point.
Yeah, agreed. Like, he has carried this team on his back because Ja has not been great in this offense at staying healthy and being effective. He's not alpha Ja. We're not getting those 38, 40, 45-point nights from him like we used to. And like you said, this is a communist offense where you spread it around. But like, Jaren is that guy. You need a bucket to stop a run, you find 13. You call 13 at this point. You find him and get him in isolation and let him cook. Because it don't matter. Put a 3, 4, 5, 1. It don't matter. Jaren's going to get a bucket. That left-hand floater, like you said, is probably higher than 85% right now, because it doesn't feel like he misses.
Well, and to DG's point here in the comments, again, get in the comments, folks. It's lots of good stuff here. There's been 4 playoff appearounces, if you want to call the first one being getting kicked out in the first ever play-in tournament. So you got kicked out in the first round in the play-in, and then you won the play-in the next year, and you got kicked out the first round against Utah, the 1 seed. And then the next year you go and play and win a series, and then lose. And then the next year you go lose in the first round to the Lakers. In the last 2 experiences that we've had in the playoffs, Ja has gotten hurt and has not finished it.
And been a huge reason as to why we lost. If he stays healthy, if Jordan Poole doesn't blow up his knee, we beat that Warriors team. If Ja and Steve-O are healthy last year,
and Jordan Poole grabs his knee against Golden State and we're in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
If and then we caught the Lakers last year, and the Lakers were better than us, but you were down Steven Adams, you were down Ja Morant. And so you've got, to Daniel's point, you've got to be able to last not just 82 games or enough of the 82 games to have a good enough record to make the playoff, but you've got to be able to bank on, if you want to make a Western Conference Finals run, you've got to say, I'm good for at least 12 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And that's why go vote. Vote for Jaren to be an all-star. Jaren needs to be an all-NBA team because he has been Mr. Reliable. He's the Ironman. This is absolutely hilarious. He has been Mr. Reliable. After the first 2 years of his career, he had injuries and foul trouble, to where now for the last 2 seasons, when nobody was reliable or dependable last year, he was our most consistent best player, and he's doing it again this year. Vote for Jaren to be an all-star. Come on, guys. Like, he deserves to be there.
Jaren and Desmond's gap is leaving the room for the Lord in the old middle school dances. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like,
that's it. That's it. Exactly right. So, yeah, it's Jaren's team right now. We need Ja to get healthy and come back because we need Ja and his ability to be that killer, because that's what Ja is. We've seen it. We know it's in there. But right now, it's 13's team, man.
And this is what I wish for New Year's. And I would just keep saying it until I see it, because I think it's the most important thing that could be shown by the Memphis Grizzlies this year. You've got another stretch here. You just beat Dallas without Luka, without Kyrie. Okay. You've got Houston. You've got a back-to-back with San Antonio, another Houston game in there, and one other game coming up. You're going to have close games. Yeah. You've got to find a way to win. I don't care what it looks like. shoot, Taylor Jenkins was throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks last night. He rolled out a lineup with Brandon Clark and Edey and Jaron.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we're going 3 7-footers. Sweet.
Here we go.
Yeah, let's see what happens now. Whatever it takes to win. That's what I want to do. Desmond likes to bark. Everybody likes to bark and chirp and whatnot, but they've got to back it up and get in the left-hand column on these close games against Western Conference opponents.
I saw a video on Twitter the other day. I wish I'd have saved it, where it showed all the times that Desmond has gotten attacked for barking and running his mouth, and we lost every game. But we need to start backing that up. Like, you're right, because like we've had John Conchar start at the 4 and at the 2 in the last 7 days. So like we're just trying to get through the injuries. Like, it is what it is. But get healthy. Like, we've got plenty of time between now and Thursday. I'm telling you right now, I expect at least, I feel it in my gut based on some of the things that are coming out that Ja and or Gigi are at least going to be doubtful for Thursday. Hopefully playing by next week, which will go a long way for team morale, team productivity, giving us toughness and giving us another bucket to start winning some of these games. And we're coming to the part of the season where we need to start winning those games. Like, you can no longer say, oh, it's just October. Right. It's just November. These games aren't going to matter. They're going to start mattering a bunch if we're going to talk about playoff seeding.
The first half of this season, and we are approaching the halfway point, which is a blessing, that we're at the point that we're at with the amount of games that we've lost to injury. But at the halfway point, you look around, you're like, wait, we're the 3 seed? Okay. By February the 8th, that's when I'll be in attendance against the Thunder in FedEx Forum. I want everybody playing. I want to be the first showing of what this team can actually be. I'm tired of the underachievers. I'm tired of being like, oh, you're cute on, your front runners. You're beating up bad teams and losing to good ones. I want to send a resounding statement on February the 8th. That's the date that I've got circled. That's the realistic date that I believe truly 1 month from tomorrow that we can have everybody back, ramped up, and ready to play the unquestioned best team in the Western Conference.
100%. I think that this is our time. We've got to turn the corner. Got to find a way to start winning some of these games. Get healthy, get going.
Have you heard anything on Santi? We haven't talked about him.
There's not really been an update. We've missed him. He's shooting. He looks really good. He's another guy I expect probably no longer than a week or so. I think that we should start getting some doubtful, questionable about him probably by next week, just because, again, he was shooting no brace, no anything. So, this is it.
Well, good deal.
That's it. We got to get our best players in time to play some of the best teams. We got a lot of meaningful basketball coming up that we need to win if we're going to be playing basketball late into the summer, which I think is possible. But go trade for Cam Johnson. Hopefully we'll have some more to talk about on Thursday when we come back. Remember, we'll be back here live Thursday, 12 o'clock. Bring all your questions, all your trades, hot takes. What do you think the Memphis Grizzlies need to do to get over the hump? We'll be here to help try and make sense of it. And who knows, we might have a new player by the end. And if not, we're going to run out what we got and give the Rockets all that we can.
Yeah. So I enjoyed everybody hanging out with us today. The comments were off and popping. I appreciate everybody being here. We'll be back Thursday. And hey, we get to watch the Grizzlies again.
Yeah. That's tomorrow. It. We get to watch meaningful basketball Thursday. You get another day to rest, let your brains digest, watch something good on TV, read a book, take a walk. Don't worry about the Grizzlies until Thursday. It's a great show, Drew. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate again everybody being in the comments. Goodish.
Listen. That's a spot-on Jingbe with the $2 right there.
That's it.
Why is that, Rusty?
Because there are no refunds for what you hear on the $2 Sports Show.
That's right. Because with the $2, you always get what you pay for, and that's a goodish time. Have a good day.
I'm not sure you could ask for much more than that. Be a friend to somebody that needs a friend. We'll see y'all on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.